silos at the same time.
There were a number of questions, and one of the neighbors, Mr. Starkman, brought up a lot of very good points in his testimony last month. But I've done a little bit of research on my own, and it does appear there's another distillery, I guess, out in Riverhead. Apparently, your claim that there's no really discernible outside odor seems to be accurate. I for one, am satisfied with that, and it's not a noisy process. I'll be honest with you, most of my concern, I mean, it's a nice business plan you guys have come up with, and it's a very professional and thorough application. My concern is with the retail or the experiential part of this, and I'll admit that comes from my own experience in this community as a resident and a neighbor to businesses that stay open beyond normal business hours and that cause some concern to the neighbors and to the quality of life of the neighbors. That's where my concern is at, and I realize we're at the start of this process, and I would hate to be one who signed off on this and then 6 years from now realize that we created a real problem for the neighbors. So I want to go over a few things about that. The seating capacity, I think we talked about this last month. 24 seats inside, that's the interior tasting room area.
We have, there are certain regulations based upon the size of the parking for what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that came up at the work group meeting, and we were told that the village may cap that as well.
Okay.
You know, fire marshal can come in and allow us 200 capacity based upon parking or village other requirements, may cap us at 80 or 100. Honestly, I don't want to be any bigger than that. I don't want a venue that's got 200 or 300 people in there. That's not what we're trying to do. The tasting environment is to be the place to showcase the product. Again, you know, tasting of mixed cocktails is different. Tasting of spirits, rather, is different than tasting of beer and wine. You know, today, even with those, you're buying a flight of 3 to sample. You'll have 3 pours for $8 or $10, and that's in the consistency of a mixed cocktail. If that's during, you know, daytime tour and tasting hours. The evening service is going to be a little bit different. You can come in and actually purchase an actual mixed cocktail. We're talking $10 to $12 cocktails, all right? So you're not going to, as I like to say, belly up to the bar for the evening at that rate. You're going to come in, have a cocktail or two perhaps, buy a bottle, go on your way. Buy a case, it's even better. That's the whole idea. So, you know, for me to have, you know, there'll be things we'll want to do to draw people, but honestly, I think, you know, for my own sanity and talking with my wife, who's my partner on this, you know, you start getting beyond 80 people in any environment, it starts becoming an uncontrollable issue. We've got limited parking. I don't want people all over the street. I don't want beyond capacity crowds, and people just have to have a little faith. This property has a little bit of a black eye on it, and you have to have a little faith that I'm investing an awful lot of money here. I'm going to want to be a good neighbor. I don't want people calling, you know, the village on me every week because there's something that's not right. I want to be the most painful thing you could do to this property. And I understand that we're going to border on a residential area. So, you know,
Very much more residential actually than where I live, although, again, it's one of many neighborhoods in the village where we have residential zoning backing right up on business zoning.
Right.
And some of those problems, obviously, we can't correct today.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to do in any hearing like this is balance your needs as an investor and a business owner with the needs and rights of the residents, whether they be renters, property owners, taxpayers, certainly. You talk about occupancy, and actually, I'll be honest, you got my attention when you mentioned 80. I never imagined that this place would have that many people.
I don't have a number for that at this point, so
now, I
I'm
know
just
one
throwing a
problems
number
with a
out.
lot of these venues that there's you know, we saw the tables and the chairs, and then there's the standing venue. And now the outside patio appeared to have about capacity for 20 people to sit. And you've got these sort of roll-up storefront doors that when the weather allows you to, you can open that up, and then it sort of opens up the whole.
It does. I thought the fresh air aspect of a business like this would be nice. We can't open the front. I mean, we probably could, but I don't want to open the front up to West Avenue. So having a little private space in the back where people, if it's a nice day, you know, they can sit outside rather than standing in a dark, gloomy bar. Well, it's not going to be dark and gloomy, but standing in a bar.
And this patio area, I believe, I saw for the plate, is fenced. 6 foot high,
yes,
wooden fence around that.
8 foot on one side to hide the ugly garage.
Do you anticipate folks standing outside?
No.
Okay.
You know, these kind of environments, and I've been to plenty of other distilleries doing my homework for this, that tasting environment for us is to showcase the product. We want to launch what we anticipate to be a national brand from this location. You know, our labels, bottom of every label says distilled from grain in the village of Patchogue, New York. You know, this is gonna be our home, this is where it's gonna start. If we need more capacity, it's gonna be in an industrial location someplace else geared for that. But in order to do this, we need a showplace. And, you know, people aren't gonna take us serious if we're making this in some back alley of some industrial complex.
No, I certainly understand that. And the building is an eyesore right now, there's no question about it. What you're proposing to do to it
It's not a lot
is
you can
certainly
do
a
with that
significant
building.
upgrade. But I can't stress strongly enough that hours of operation here, they're not normal business hours. You're talking about summertime, Saturday night, 11 o'clock, Thursday night, 10, when people have to get up and go to school and go to work in the morning. And I think one of the most underrated aspects of some of these enterprises in the village that I don't think everybody really talks about, but I understand, the ambient noise created by people congregating, particularly outdoors, is extreme. You can't hide it, it's very noticeable. Even when people are talking at a level less than you and I are talking right now, you multiply that by, just pick a number, 50, 60 people. Everyone on that street's gonna hear that and beyond. So my concern with this proposal, and I believe it's incumbent upon me, knowing the dark side of what can happen here, is to make sure we protect the residents on that. Amity Street is completely residential from one end to the next. We don't want to create a deleterious situation that impacts the quality of life
People are
and
gonna
their
be-
property
People are
values.
gonna be leaving us long before they leave the bowling alley across the street. So, you know,
I think it's the outdoor spaces, most considered.
right, one of the other things, the property, and we expressed this at the last meeting too, the property that directly adjoins this
Mhm.
is something we have interest in, but the property owner doesn't want to discuss it until we're done with this. There's a huge tract of land behind that,
This is to the north. The home
just
to
to
the
the,
north?
just to the
To the
east.
east, I mean.
Just to the east.
Okay, yeah, there is. There's a big
It's a huge
backyard.
parcel of land back there. If we do have the good fortune to acquire that and can landscape that in properly back there, we're gonna really buffer with landscaping any ambient noise that'll be outside. So that's something we're conscious of and we're planning on doing, because ultimately we'd like to move into the village ourselves, and to be next door to where we're working, to me is, you know, the ultimate idea of living in a place like this.
Now, a couple points you make that I commend you for, and these are some of the problems we've had with some of these other properties, is the temptation when you have a popular destination that let's squeeze in more people than the parking allows for. So that certainly is something that we do not want to see here, because then you have people spilling out and milling onto the streets as they're heading home, and that also becomes a disturbance as well.
We've been business owners for almost 20 years, we've been good neighbors in the community we're in, and it's all about us living up to what we're standing here promising you. I mean, you can only take it at face value. We're making a tremendous investment in order to do this. This is not a cheap project or one to be taken lightly. The last thing we're gonna wanna do is upset our home.
I understand. And I believe, please, I'm not trying to be
I
hard on you at all.
understand completely.
A lot of these other enterprises started very
Mhm.
small and innocuously. You know what, they did well. God bless them, they did well, they grew, they expanded and became something that they did not appear to be
We
at
need
first.
to expand and manufacture product. It's not about how many people I can pack into the bar to sell the product. So it's the place where I can bring restaurant owners, bar owners, hotel owners, principals in where they can taste, have some private time with that to understand why they have a good opportunity to use our product and put it on the shelf. You know, what I'm gonna make selling a case of that or a truckload of it to, you know, restaurants and bars is gonna far outweigh what I'm gonna sell in a mixed cocktail in a given evening. But we need that environment for people to come in and taste. But again, it's not how many patrons I can push through a bar in this environment. That's not what we're looking to do. You know, there are wineries that are pushing that trade crowd through there. They care more about what they get in their tasting room. This is not like that. Spirits are a premium product, and you're talking something that's, you know, $29 to $49 in a bottle. You're bringing out a different class of clientele. So again, it's not how many people we can pack in. They can have a drink down the block without a problem. And they can drink our product down the block, hopefully. So again, we're part of the experience.
To that end, would you consider scaling back the evening hours and the weekend at all to address the concerns of the neighbors? I mean, I'm just looking online, I've been out east of the wineries, and a lot of those operations close down at 8 p.m. the latest on Saturdays.
I don't, I don't have a good handle on, the ferry traffic, because, I mean, again, that's an opportunity for people coming back to stop in.
Well, I can explain that.
Okay,
The last boat off Watch Hill is 7 p.m. on Saturday,
okay,
and that would be going to the terminal right across the street from you.
Yeah.
Occasionally on a Saturday night, it's a 10 p.m. charter off the boat, off the beach. But those people have been drinking and eating at the restaurant, and they're pretty well tooted up at that point.
the other thing that I'm looking at, and I really don't have an answer for right now too, is you've got a new destination starting at the beginning of West Avenue. People are going to find a reason to go there, visit, taste, explore, and then come to us. I don't want to cut my hours to where they've got patrons that are like, hey, let's go check out the distillery before we head home tonight, or go get dinner in the restaurant and not be there for them.
Last month you had said there'd be no outdoor music.
Yeah, it's still the same.
Would you consider possibly shutting down the patio earlier than 11 o'clock on weekends or 10 o'clock on Thursday and Friday nights?
Yeah, I would
There
consider
are also
that.
a lot of school children in that neighborhood.
Well, I would consider that. I mean, I don't think that's an issue.
I mean, I reiterate, my big, and I would say, well, it's not my only concern, my big concern is the outdoor venue, because I know how, trust me, I know how awful it can get.
I live a quarter of a mile from the river, and I can hear voices, I can hear conversations.
I understand.
In the back of my house. So
I understand.
yeah. I would be much more agreeable to, let's say, go with the hours you're proposing, but shut down the patio at 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
I think that's fine.
Yeah. That's not a problem with us. Again, it's just, I'm trying to make it a comfortable environment. Evening hours, even if we close the patio down, we can still have the doors open, keep the fresh air coming in. We'll have some way of addressing that people can't go in and out, but not a problem.
And I've got to tell you, I am very impressed with your business plan. I'm very impressed with even the additional investments you're making
Thank you.
since you were here last month.
It's exciting.
It's exciting to me, but again, I want to preserve the neighborhood. I'm a South Patchogue guy.
Me
I
too.
want to preserve the neighborhood. So,
Me too, because when I move into the neighborhood, we come into these as well. I understand. I try to be a good business neighbor.
Appreciate your understanding to where we're going there. The community's got some scars from some enterprises that, intentions were good, but things, got out of hand. Anybody else on the board right now have any questions? I'm sure there's probably some members of the public that would like to speak about this. All right, at this time, I'm going to open it up to members of the public who may want to come forward and ask some questions or seek some more information than we've gotten so far. So if anybody would like to speak either for or against this application,